I want you to picture something for me. You're at a garden center on a Saturday morning, and right there in front of you is the most breathtaking vine you have ever seen. Deep purple flowers spilling over a trellis like something out of a magazine. So you buy it, you bring it home, you plant it, you water it, and then one day you walk outside and the whole thing has turned black overnight. Every stem, every leaf, gone. And everyone tells you the same thing. Oh, Clematis is just finicky. Better luck next time.
Let me tell you something right now. Your Clematis did not die because you have a black thumb. It died because the advice you were given was wrong from the very beginning. Today, I'm giving you 5 secrets that most people never hear. And secret number 3 is the one that will completely change how you grow Clematis. Getting it wrong has been robbing you of every flower this plant was ever going to give you. Stay with me till the end. Let's get into it. Secret number 1. Plant it deeper than feels right. Think about the last time you planted something from a nursery pot. You dug a hole about the same depth as the container, popped the plant in, and backfilled. And for most plants, that's exactly right. But Clematis is different. When you plant your Clematis, you do not plant it at the same depth it was sitting in the pot. You plant it 2 to 3 inches deeper. You want those first little leaf nodes, those small swollen joints where the leaves meet the stem, sitting 2 to 3 inches below the surface of the soil. Why does this matter so much? Because those buried nodes become what I call a backup plant. They are protected underground. If your vine ever gets hit by a late frost, if wilt strikes, which we'll talk about soon, those nodes are still alive down there, insulated and ready. They can push out entirely new shoots and rebuild the plant completely from scratch. Dig your hole at least 12 inches deep and 12 inches wide. Mix in good compost. Set the plant so the crown sits 2 to 3 inches below soil level. Backfill, press firmly, and water deeply. That's it. That one extra step is the single most protective thing you can do for this plant's long-term survival. And one more thing. Clematis does not love to have its roots disturbed once it's established. Pick your location carefully the first time, because this is a plant that resents being moved. Secret number 2. Warm face, cold feet. Serious Clematis growers have a saying, warm face, cold feet. And it perfectly describes what this plant needs. The warm face part is easy. Clematis needs a minimum of 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. Less than that, and your blooms will be sparse and weak. But here's where most people go wrong, the cold feet part. While the vine loves sun, the roots hate heat. When the soil at the base bakes in summer, the plant gets stressed, drops its flower buds, and may go dormant early, just when it should be at its most beautiful. The fix is simple. Shade the root zone while keeping the vine in full sun. Plant a low-growing perennial at the base. Hardy geraniums or catmint work perfectly. Or lay 2 to 3 inches of mulch around the base, keeping it away from the stem. The best growers use both, mulch plus a companion plant. During a hot summer, that combination is the difference between a vine that keeps flowering and one that gives up. Secret number 3. Know your pruning group before you touch a single stem. Raise your hand if you've ever pruned your Clematis and then it didn't bloom. I see you. I've been there. Clematis are divided into 3 pruning groups. Prune at the wrong time, and you cut off every single flower the plant was building. You'll have a healthy green vine and nothing else. Think of it like a traffic light. Group 1. Red light. Stop. Wait. These bloom in early spring on last year's stems. Those buds have been sitting on the vine since last fall. If you cut them in March to tidy up, you are throwing your flowers away. Only prune group 1 lightly, after it finishes blooming in spring. Clematis montana and alpina are in this group. Group 2. Yellow light. Go slow. Big flowers in late spring on old wood, then again in late summer on new growth. In early spring, remove only dead and weak stems. Do not cut back hard. You need that old wood for your first flush. Nellie Moser and the President are Group 2. Group 3, Greenlight, cut hard. These bloom in summer on brand new growth. In February or March, cut every stem down to about 12 inches above the ground. Then, step back. It will push out vigorous new growth, and those new shoots become your flowers. Jackmanii is the most famous Group 3 variety. If you don't know which group your plant is, do nothing for 1 full year. Just observe. 1 season of watching tells you everything. Secret number 4. Don't panic when wilt strikes. Your vine looks magnificent on Tuesday morning. You walk out Wednesday, and the whole thing has collapsed overnight. Stems black, leaves hanging, everything dead. Most gardeners pull the plant out and throw it away. Then they buy another one and wonder why it happens again. Here's what wilt actually is. A fungal pathogen attacks the stem at soil level and blocks the water supply to the vine. The top collapses, but the root system, in almost every case, is completely unaffected. And remember Secret 1? Those nodes you planted 2 to 3 inches underground? The fungus cannot reach them. Your backup plant is alive down there. Here's what you do. Cut the entire collapsed vine to ground level, all the way down. Bag every piece of that blackened material and put it in the trash. Do not compost it. Then add fresh compost around the base, water it in, and wait. Within 2 to 4 weeks, you will see fresh green shoots pushing up from the soil. It's not dead. It simply reset itself. Secret number 5. You're feeding it the wrong thing. You read that Clematis is a heavy feeder, so you buy a high nitrogen fertilizer and apply it all season. And the result? Beautiful, lush leaves, great coverage on the fence, and almost no flowers. Here's why. Nitrogen drives leaf and stem growth, and it does that job very well. But a plant flooded with nitrogen has no reason to flower. It suppresses your blooming hormones in favor of more leaves. What Clematis actually needs for big blooms is potassium and phosphorus. Potassium is the 3rd number on the fertilizer label, the K in NPK. It drives flower production, bud count, and color intensity. A rose food or tomato fertilizer works perfectly. Look for a higher 3rd number, something like a 4-12-8. These are formulated for exactly this kind of heavy blooming plant. In early spring, feed with compost. Then 4 to 6 weeks before bloom time, switch to that high potassium fertilizer. After the first flush fades, give it 1 more round to push a second wave of flowers. And stop fertilizing by early summer. Feeding in fall pushes soft new growth that freezes over winter. Let the plant wind down naturally. So there you have it. The 5 secrets I wish someone had told me years ago. None of these are complicated. Not one of them requires an expensive product or a special trip anywhere. They just require knowing the right information and applying it at the right time. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Drop your US state or your USDA hardiness zone in the comments. Tell me where you're gardening. And if you already have a clematis, tell me which variety it is. I read every single comment. If this video helped you today, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already.